Nick here with ChevelleFactory. I was in Utah riding through on my Harley and I had to stop and check out Speedtech. Come see my buddy Cameron over here, and he's gonna give us a small little walk around of the facility and show us some Chevelle stuff. So yeah. This is Cameron right here. Cameron, where are we at today?
Hey everybody, so we are in Speedtech Performace, St. George, Utah, about as far south as you can get. And we manufacture performance chassis and suspension for all your vintage muscle cars and trucks.
Okay, let's go take a look.
Let's do it. First, when you walk in, this is basically just the reception area. We've got sales offices, our engineers, and everything here. My office is upstairs. If you ever want to creep on me, I enjoy visitors. So let's head out to the shop. All right, so welcome to our build shop. Over here is where basically we do a bunch of R&D. First off, being that this is ChevelleFactory, I want to show you this beautiful Chevelle chassis. So this right here is our extreme independent rear chassis. This one in particular is built to have around a 1,500 horsepower Nelson Racing engine, twin turbo, alien intake. The way we've designed this chassis is you're actually going to be good for up to about 1,800 horsepower. It has our extreme geometry in the front, so you're going to be able to fit around a 355 tire in the rear and a 315 up to maybe a 335 tire in the front of these Chevelles, with over 30 degrees of steering.
So you said earlier this is for a local guy that you guys are building the car for. Are these the actual wheels that he's going with?
Yep, these are the wheels he's going with.
So this is a roller,
exactly. Full roller. It's going to have a Dynacorn body with that Nelson Racing engine, so it's basically going to be a brand new 1970 Chevelle.
So he, instead of buying a roller, a car that was going to be restored, he's buying a whole new cab.
Brand new cab, paired with bare brakes that you can see there with the Speedtech logo custom engraved into them. Rick's tanks, so he's going to have a nice stainless tank there.
And explain this shock setup right here, because this isn't traditional and probably not what people are used to seeing. Obviously this is an IRS, so not typical what people are going to see in a stock configured car, but this is a design that you guys have come up with that is an IRS, and then also you have this option for the shock or a traditional shock that goes in the A-arm area.
Yep.
So explain this.
So this is what we call our overhead cantilever design. So as you see, this piece here essentially is on a pivot point. And then, so the top of your shock is mounted here, and then at the bottom to this push rod. So when your suspension travels, it travels through this push rod, and then the motion is here, which transfers into the shock. So like we say, it's a cantilever design. In this setup, the way we designed it is you actually get around 100% motion ratio, which no other independent rear setup for the Chevelles give you that.
So if we didn't go with this top mount and we went with more it's traditional style that you would see, there would be a mount that comes off of here and the shock would be bolted on. And then what are takeaways, pros and cons of one or the other if someone was interested in seeking this type of direction?
For sure. So this one, as you can see, this is where your trunk floor basically is going to be. And then we've come up with a sheet metal kit that encloses this, that meets up with your mini tubs. We do a lot with ABC as far as mini tubs, but with the traditional, this whole setup's gone. And then we have a mount that bolts to the housing here, and your shock goes directly to the lower control arm, more like a traditional, kind of like a Corvette setup, but a little different.
Sure, but it's all configured underneath the floor of the car. Yeah.
So this is going to be seen in your trunk basically, which a lot of people like that because it becomes a showpiece. And additionally, honestly, for ease of tuning your suspension, you literally just reach in and you click and you change your compression or rebound or whatnot.
So this area right here is usually where on a Chevelle will be a little bit of a hump that comes up in the trunk, and usually the back of the seats right here, and then you have your package tray right above it, and that's where these shocks will be sitting. So you take away from that space in your trunk, but you get the next level of cantilever ratio that is going to provide you more performance.
More performance and more comfort. And in fact, I can actually show you, it's not a Chevelle, but it's the same setup. I can actually show you in the back of this 67 Camaro what that would look like in your trunk.
So like Cameron was saying, this is a 67 Camaro, 67, right?
67.
Yeah. And even though it's not a Chevelle, you can still get the understanding of what you would be looking at. So you're going to have panels that will allow the rod to come through. And hit
These whole pieces here, these wings, that comes with our sheet metal kit. So you can enclose it up to your mini tub.
Cool. Yeah, that is pretty cool.
So then the push rod, like I was showing you, just comes through there, and then we've actually even made a boot, so it encloses it and everything, keeps all the dust out.
Right, that was going to be my next question, if you're going to need any type of debris or anything like that in here. Back over on the chassis, let's tell us a little bit about the front end on this thing.
So the way that we took this is we teamed up with a couple of professionals that have a lot of performance background. And with our engineering team, we essentially took the white page approach. And so we wanted to design a front end that wasn't a Mustang 2, that wasn't, based off of a Corvette, and we designed something all brand new. And so with this is where the term extreme comes from, is anything with the word extreme has this front K-member essentially. Derived, there's different widths of control arms for different applications, such as Chevelle or a truck or whatnot. But basically, this gives you the most turning radius with the biggest tire on the market, hands down. Other people can come close, but you're rubbing your control arms, you're hitting your sway bars, things like that. What we've done is we've made the frame rail a lot thinner than what it comes from the factory, but everything is internally boxed and gusseted for strength and rigidity. And so now this is going to be, it's thinner than a factory setup, but it's way stronger. In fact, I actually did a science experiment on it with the factory Chevelle chassis where they're not boxed. I was able to put about 150 pounds on one horn, and that whole frame twisted about 1.5 inches with only 150 pounds.
And that's on your guys' YouTube channel?
It is on our YouTube channel.
A-body against your extreme chassis.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I did the same science experiment with this, and it doesn't budge.
Yeah.
It doesn't move at all.
So tell us again, you're talking about the most amount of turning radius,
Yep.
And that's because these control arms, the lower control arms and the uppers, are tapered in so much more of a thinner.
They're tapered in, our steering arms tapered in. Everything was designed to work together top to bottom with our spindle and everything. And then it's tied to, you're going to see this beefy dual power rack and pinion system from Sweet Manufacturing. And so it's a dual ram system that allows you to turn those big tires with ease. And then we've designed this to fit all sorts of applications, small block, big block, LT, LS. And then with the other, same thing with Mopar and Ford.
Does the pump come with it for the engine, or is that something that you just have to?
It's something, because it depends on what engine you're using, but we do have all the recommendations to know what works with what.
And I see here on the front frame horn area, well, that's a sway bar. You have these hooks right here for strapping down the vehicle.
Yeah. I mean, as car guys, we all know that one of the biggest pains is trying to strap down your vehicle for whatever reason.
Yeah, especially when it's lower.
When it's lower,
and you gotta slide underneath, and
because this is sitting at ride height, without weight on it, and basically the bottom of the K member is going to be about 4.5 inches off the ground when it's at ride height with weight. So to try to get under there to strap it down is going to be a pain. So with this, you can actually just come in front of the tire, hook down, and be on your way.
Do you do that in the rear as well?
Yeah, we do have places on the rear also. So this one, we can kind of see right through here, but we have them on both sides of the rear, right there.
Reach underneath and snag them. Wow.
It's little things that, again, as car guys, you learn these things that are pain points, and so you try to fix them. Like another thing with our independent rear, it comes our factory with a park brake mechanism built into the spindle.
Oh, really?
Where others don't do that.
So you can actually buy a Bear or
Bear.
So you buy your brake kit, just a regular brake kit, and then you buy a Bear emergency brake separate.
Yeah. So the whole mechanism, you can actually see it. So you can set your cable into here, and when you put your pressure on, it's going to lock down right there into your park brake.
Oh, so literally you don't have to buy anything more.
Besides the cabling.
The cabling. So like if you had it's called e-brake or
or e-stop.
Yeah, e-stop. That's what it was. Yeah. So if you had that, you can connect put the e-stop on the frame. Yeah.
Yep.
So if you
so that's already put in on both sides. Comes with both sides of our spindle in the rear.
With these chassis, do you also include a brake line kit with them?
So we offer it for a few other applications. This one, we have been mocking it up on this exact chassis.
And so you're going to be offering that soon as an additional
that's something
drop down when you're ordering.
Yep, that's something we're working on, is so we can really be a one-stop shop. You can get everything all the way out to the wheels and tires. We're a dealer for Forge Line and different companies.
Make it easier for a guy that's a do-it-yourselfer that's in his own garage to speed up the installation process. Compared to not all of these are going to full-blown shops that are able to. I mean, because let's say it's tedious to make brake lines.
Yeah. Oh, it's a pain. If you've ever done it, I don't know what's worse, doing that or making headers. But and then another thing that we've thought of is the transmission cross member. So it'll accept anything from an old school, 4-speed to up to a modern 10-speed and anything in between, because it's not connected here as we speak, but it's fully universal.
So if a guy wanted to go old school, small block, he can do that. If he wants to go old school, big block, he can do that. Or he could just obviously go with an LS base motor. And then with that, he can also go to a turbo 350 if he wanted to. Can he even put like a Muncie 4-speed in it?
Yeah, Muncie 4-speed. We've had guys that have run that, and then we've also, again, had guys that have ran a modern 10-speed.
Yeah.
And those 6, 8, 10 speeds, the housings on those are huge. So another thing we've come up with, and because these sit so low on a full chassis body, is we have a full tunnel kit for these cars, which also includes, a rear tunnel that goes over where the axle sits.
And so some people with that statement of me saying turbo 350, Muncie 4-speed, small block 350, I mean, that might sound kind of silly, but in all reality, the way that cars are being modified today, people have their own ideas of what they want to accomplish. It's their money, their vision. So for you guys to be able to favor someone's maybe oddball to other companies' vision, you guys can support it.
Yep.
That's
absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so we've tried to design this to encompass any kind of style, whether it's a simple resto mod to a full-blown pro touring build that's going to be on the track most of its life, or something that you and your honey are going to hop in and just go get a Sunday ice cream. We can do anything in between.
Okay. And then right next to it,
yeah,
we have a traditional chassis out of a Chevelle that has been heavily modified with all your bolt-on components.
Yep.
Which I'm a fan of this. I had this on my own LS3 Chevelle that I recently sold. Pretty much almost everything that's on this chassis is what I had, minus a couple differences, because you do have some different, like for example, these are the hybrid coilovers on this one, and then I had your chicane.
You had the chicane
that
one.
You have to weld in.
So this one has been on tour with us, so it's a little dusty, but so we can also take a factory chassis, and like I was mentioning, as far as the weight on these Chevelles, these were basically a C-channel frame from here to here. So you get any kind of torque or anything, that whole frame's just twisting. So this has our frame brace kit. So that includes, we've got our piece in here that encloses it, and then we've got connection tubes, gives it more strength all the way back to that hoop. And then we've got, again, a universal transmission cross member here.
Right. And so we just talked about your extreme chassis over there.
Yeah.
And then this is a factory. Tell me, like, if someone was calling and you were like suggesting a direction to go, let's put money aside for a second.
Yep.
What would be the definition of what that extreme chassis is for type of customer compared to this bolt-on chassis components? Like, what's the division that you typically see in today's community?
For sure. So a build like this build in particular, again, it's going to be having a Nelson Racing 1500 horsepower engine. He's literally building this to beat all of his buddies that are Ferrari and Lamborghini drivers.
So he wants the ultimate driving experience.
Ultimate driving, but also the key is that high horsepower, right? 1500 horsepower is going to be crazy. So when a lot of people think, I'm building a car, I want a lot of horsepower, and they just do that. And so you'll see high horsepower builds on a 60-year-old chassis. You know, I mean, that's like building a brand new house on 60-year-old concrete.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that, right? So you can take that concrete and refresh it, and you can do different things to make, you know, to refurbish your house. That's where this comes in, right? So if you're wanting a nice cruiser,
Yep.
something that you can daily drive up and down the PCH like you and Kelly do, this is what's great for that. You know, you can still throw 500-600 horsepower in a factory chassis and do it confidently. You know, you're still going to have, there's some improved geometry within the control arms, but you're ultimately still going to have, a Borgeson steering rack, which is a great setup, but that steering box, it's older technology.
You're having still a traditional technology, older technology, but it's been rejuvenated with your guys' products. So, for example, if you're not an all-in, out-of-the-get-go guy, for whatever reason, and you wanted to take steps and experience, you know, steps for whatever reason, budgeting, or maybe you just don't feel you're ready for that and you want the most out of your stock chassis, that's where your bolt-on components come into play.
For sure, and for guys that want more of a factory look, that don't want to run, because with our extreme chassis, you're changing the stance, but then you also at minimum have to run an 18-inch wheel. So guys that are wanting to run a 15-inch wheel or a 16-inch, this is going to be a great setup for you to keep the factory look. You know, that smaller wheel aesthetic and this little skinnier tire if you want, but it still gives you all brand new components. So you have modern safety, modern features. We do even offer a 9-inch rear end that we work with Dutchman on, and so it comes with, it's a 9-inch that comes with
all the mounts.
The mounts.
Yeah.
Forgive me, I forget but the dog ears on top of a Chevelle housing, it comes with those pre-welded to it. And
so
it gives
a guy that has a 12-bolt, 10-bolt, 12-bolt application that wants to spruce up the rear, or if they want to just buy a rear axle, whether if they don't want a 12-bolt and they would prefer to go to 9-inch, you can do it a 9-inch as well.
Yep.
That's great.
And we've got a sway bar kit. Our trailing arms look a little different. We've updated them from what you're seeing now. But so we've got front and rear
always
sway
evolving
bars.
on product.
Always evolving. These kits come with a QA1 double adjustable, as you see it here. So you're going to be able to tune your ride, your compression, your rebound, and everything you need.
Yeah, and for the people that might get a little stressed over tires that are rubber bands, these right here are a great build process tool. I'm going to call it a tool because these don't get driven on them, but you can roll around on these, and these are gunny wheels that have multiple different bolt patterns, not meant to be driven on, but pushed around and moved around on the weight, whether you have a body on the car or whatnot.
We use these in our shop all the time, and additionally, like I said, this exact chassis has been around the country with us.
Yep.
And the way they design this is great because these are stop points, you know, so it's not just going to take off on you as it's rolling.
A little bit of friction, so it keeps it, resistance.
But as far as that, you saw how easy I was able to roll this whole chassis with one hand. So moving it around, you can even put full-size trucks or cars on these wheels, and it works great in a shop.
So if anyone had any questions, trying to figure out what is the right direction, let's say you've got a little bit larger budget and you're considering something like this, or whether you want to have a little bit more tech and talk and figuring out what you want to start with on components on here, you guys have a customer service tech line.
Yeah.
You have sales guys too as well.
Yep.
And you guys are at a lot of these major shows.
Yep.
So you guys are approachable for any type of person that has questions that are trying to get more out of their factory car.
Absolutely, and I run all of our social media, so you can feel free to DM there as well. Be happy to answer any questions, but we've got customer service and sales guys that, the cool thing about Speedtech is we're all car guys, we're all hot rodders, right? We've got guys who drive Camaros, Chevelles, Corvettes, like old Corvettes. I've got a few old trucks and things. All here in-house, so we're car guys. We don't just, we're not here for the paycheck. We're here to keep the dream alive.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely this car community. I always tell people, no one needs any of this stuff.
Right.
We all want it, and depending on where we want to jump on board with the want, some people are at this level, some people are at that level. And the best thing about it is you're not going the wrong doing one or the other. It's just what's meant for you, particularly at the time, and Speedtech can help you from mild to wild.
Absolutely, and
That's
anywhere
awesome.
in between, because between this we do have another chassis that is the same front geometry, but it's got our torque arm in the rear. So it still gives you the straight axle in the rear, but that's a whole nother option.
You know, again, this sometimes loses the nostalgia in some people's opinion. So it's not a bad thing that you want to keep the nostalgia, but you want to make things safer and more drivable for that nostalgia feel, and that's where the bolt-in parts come in.
100%.
So it's not a bad idea at all.
Nope, not at all.
Well, awesome, Cameron. I appreciate you taking your time today and allowing me to get a little insight on what's going on. And we got you in front of the camera, and we got to show our followers the differences between these two chassis. It just so worked out. He didn't even know I was coming by until a few hours ago, and just worked out that we had an extreme chassis right next to a factory chassis, and this was all possible. So great.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, and thanks again.
Appreciate you.
All right, man.